Alright, so I watched Wonder Woman 1984 last night. It's a super horror. Oh my god, I've been stuck in the horror realm too long. It's a superhero super horror. Jesus fucking Christ. It's a superhero sequel. That's pretty much it. It's a superhero sequel. I would put this probably like within the vein of, Far From Home, Thor 2, like shit like that where it's like, cool, we got a sequel. It adds something to the story. Here's a new villain kind of thing. Um, but it doesn't really like do much. But also at the same time, it was. I would say this is definitely more towards like Thor 2, where I just watched it and I was just like, it's one of those like while you're watching it, you're like, yeah, this is not good, you know. Whereas at least with like the Iron Man sequels and like the Spider-Man Far From Home, you're like entertained. Like, it's not good, but you're still at least entertained while you're watching it. But this was like, it's not like while I'm watching it. There were a couple times where I was just like, I'm getting kind of bored, and at least the upside of it, the fact that I was home watching this and not in the theater, is that I was able just like to know how much like more I had left in the movie. Just be like, how much, to, how much? Okay, hour and a half in, hour and 40 minutes. Yeah, this movie was also 2.5 hours long. It didn't need to be. It really didn't need to be. How long was the other? Who cares how long the other one was? Because the first one was great. This one was just like it suffers from like the sequel thing of, it doesn't do as much as like what other sequels do. Whereas whatever you like from the first one, will do it 10 times more in the second one, kind of thing. It just kind of like fell. It just fell flat. You know, um, Also like the reasoning for certain things was just, even in comic book, universe terms, it still was very like cop outy, like, we all know Steve came back. It's like, how do you come back? We're all thinking like, because in the comic book world, it's no one stays dead except for Uncle Ben. We all know that. But it's usually, something like, oh, well, Steve didn't really blow up, or like he had a parachute, or some shit like that. And then in cryo, maybe he also freezing frozen, like, like some kind of shit. He was also experimental, like, let's go with that. But what it was like there was a magical stone that she touched and wished for it, and it was like, oh, we're going with that. We're going with that. Okay, fine. And like how Cheetah became Cheetah wasn't like the what is in the comic, which is like the magical dagger thing of specialness, But instead, she held the thing, and she's like, I wish I was just good as Diana, And so she became like all powerful, blah blah blah, you know. I don't know. There's not really like, there's not much of me being like, oh wait, hold on, guys, spoilers, because so much of the movie is shown in the trailer. Like all the cool action shit, her with the armor on, fucking the truck scene in the middle of the desert, like the fucking mall scene, like all the good shit was shown in the trailer, and by the time you see it in the movie, like, how like, they'll show a little bit, and you're like, oh shit, and then you see the scene in the movie and you're like, what, But this was more like, cool, now I see it a little bit more with context, but I've seen most of this action scene anyway, because all your teaser trailers, all your new TV spots or whatever has shown it all to me. And that's on marketing. That's a very like Age of Ultron marketing thing of like, we're showing you too much, which you shouldn't. Especially when it comes to comic book movies, because there's always the ooh surprise, the ooh ha he ha action stuff, But yeah, like, and I love the thing with Cheeto, with with Kristen Wiig's character, is the whole like, she's got her like 80s hair going on, you know, just her 80s hair, which a lot of like people do now with wigs. They got their 80s hair, and then she has her my glasses, my glasses. I'm awkward, my glasses, and then like she wishes upon a star, you know, wishes on the thing, and all of a sudden she's like, her hair's better. Oh no, I'm so sexy. I don't need glasses. Oh my god, my vision's not blurred. You know, all of a sudden she's like that, and all of a sudden like her clothes become more fitted, you know? And then all of a sudden, like, everyone who's ignored her in the office is like, because just like Diana. And there's some parts with Diana that made me just feel like that's not Diana, you know? Because, especially, like, really, we're not really talking much about the comic because we're really going to bring on, like, the source material. There's, like, roll out, you know, the scroll of things that I want to talk about. But to keep in continuity of the films, which in the first one, you know, she's very sweet, she's very, you know, genuine, caring, you know, very much this, like, you know, like, she gives a fuck, you know? But then, like, when Cheetah approaches her in her office thingy, and she's like, hey, I was just wondering, maybe you want to have lunch, she was just kind of, like, so dismissive of her, and it was like, oh my god, what have the years done to you, Diana? It's like, okay, you can say, like, maybe she's gotten a bit cold because she doesn't have Steve with her, and she's just kind of like, yeah, whatever, and I get it, guys hit on me. Like, she's, you know, it's been, what was it, like 30 plus years or something? Like, fine, you can say that. But at the same time, it felt so, like it felt such, you know, of like a flip that you're like, fuck, girl, what happened to the person who had ice cream and it was just like, oh my god, you should be very proud of yourself, to being like, I'm not free for lunch for you, I'm busy. Like, it was very like, whoa, you know, kind of turn. Also, I love the whole like, we're ladies and we wear heels in the office, but it was also the 80s, so you know. It's the 80s, do a lot of coke and vote for Ronald Reagan, you know, like that kind of shit. Um, Pedro Pascal fucking acted the shit out of this movie. Like, he was like, he was like what made this movie like entertaining. Like, anytime he was on screen and his dramatic acting and shit and fuck, like, it's like, yes, you know, like, Pedro Pascal is on screen. I'm interested in what's happening now. He's, what was it, one of my buddies, he texted me, he said, Pedro Pascal has literally, like, been, within the last couple of weeks, has been the best dad of the year and the worst dad of the year, you know, which is true. You know, he goes from freaking Mandalorian, you know, Papa, oh, God, that season finale made me so sad, to this guy with his random Asian son. I have an Asian son suddenly. Hello. And it's such like a simple storyline of like, you know, dude wants power, he becomes the frickin', you know, wishful stone that they frickin', like, he literally is like, I want to be you, like, becomes the wish stone and all that stuff. And of course, and I love how early on in the movie they're already like, oh, this is like a monkey's paw, so whatever, you know, you give it, like, whatever you want, it takes from you, blah, 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 all that stuff. So Pedro Pascal's, like, character, he's just, like, starting to get all bloodshot, all fucked up, and, like, you know, Diana slowly starts like losing her powers because she gets like shot and she's like, oh my god, I'm bleeding, you know, and Cheetah just she's there, you know, and then the reveal of Steve, and it was weird because it was just like some dude, you know, it wasn't just like Steve literally came back to life. He just kind of like avatared into someone's body, you know, and it was like some dude. Um, and it was like, and he would look in the mirror and it would be dude, but, you know, she would be like, all I see is you, Steve, you know, which, I don't know how you can say that, like, sexily. All I see is you, Steve. Anyway, so yeah, and then I didn't really think about this until my buddy texted me. He's like, didn't you think it was kind of weird that, you know, the avatar of the guy that, you know, Steve is avataring into didn't really consent to sex? And I was like, you know, I didn't think of that, and now I'm just like, it's horrible, but I'm like laughing, and I was like, oh, you're right, he didn't know he fucked. That's a little problematic. And I'm not laughing at the non-consent, I'm laughing at the fact that, like, completely looked over. Like, oh, hey, movie, you know? But like I said, like, a lot of the action scenes you saw in the trailer, so again, nothing was very, like, ooh, this is different. Or like, oh, this added to it. And again, like, we already knew she was gonna have, like, the armor and stuff. Like, maybe if it was, like a quick hint, like, again, Marvel does those really quick cuts in their trailers where, you know, people will, like, go frame by frame and they'll be like, oh, I think this is the bleh, or like just a split second. So you knew she was gonna have the fucking armor. But then, like, the armor was just so, like, it was like, just like in the trailer, like, it came and went, you know, like, she had it on, she had the wings, and then all of a sudden she's like, I'm just gonna shed the wings. Okay, bitch, shed the wings, because we couldn't afford to animate it anymore, you know? Yeah, just, it's such, like, the story's very, like, simple, generic, it didn't really add much to things. Oh, like, once Cheetah went full Cheetah, I said something along the, what did I say? I said something, I have to look, because, like, I was probably like I had probably like 30 minutes left of the movie, and then my buddy started texting me. He was like, have you seen the movie? I was like, bro, I'm an hour and a half in. And so we were like, he had already seen it, so I was just texting him. Oh, actually, before I go to Cheetah thing, I'm gonna kind of go through my text and say, so I was a little annoyed that they didn't go like full 80s hair with Diana. Like, she still had her lovely, pretty, sleek hair. They didn't give her like some crispy ass, like, mall like hair, you know, crimped and all that stuff. They didn't give her like the mall hair, because she's gotta go, ma. I gotta go, ma. I gotta go. And then, like, well, I don't think the Jersey nail existed then, but, you know, the Jersey nails. Anyway, yeah, my buddy was like fried to shit, plastered with gel, and then he's like, nobody brought up AIDS. It's the 80s, isn't it? And I was like, well, you know. You think, like, when Diana and Steve fucked, they used a condom? Like, what if Avatar guy had some shit, you know? Just saying. They're so fucking terrible. Oh, yeah. I said, Cheetah looks like if the Tom Cruise mummy fucked a cat. Because, like, how she's, like white, and the way how they did the makeup, it's kind of like how the girl mummy looked, where she was just pale, and she had, like, all the, like, things written on her, and it was like, you know? And it was also weird. It was like, what do you want? And she's like, to be apex predator. You know, whatever stuff. And then she becomes like a cat. But not really a cat, but a cat. You know? And it was so, like... And why was she, like, white? Isn't that like a snow leopard then? That just dawned on me. That's... Yeah, that's... Man. I think I was gonna shit on this movie as much as I was. Oh yeah, my buddy's like, I'm so fucking pissed that she's flying with the Superman pose. Yeah, and I said, no, she jumps. I guess that's flight then. And he's like, he's like, it's a jump. How is she gliding for a long time? Humans aren't aerodynamic. And then he's like, they Mary Suiter. It's as bad as Justice League. And I was like, oh my god. And I said, I was like, I'm not looking forward to that 4-hour Hellfest that they're gonna put out. And my buddy asked, when did she pick up the armor? And I said, she just went and grabbed it quickly. Like, literally, it was like, oh my god, something happened. And then, like, she had it, like, was it in her office, in her home? I don't know where that was, where she had, like, all the TVs monitoring, like, whatever CCTV existed back in the day, you know? She had it there, like, wrapped in, like, brown paper, like, in the corner of the room, like you do when you have precious armor. Anyway, and then, so then my buddy goes, didn't you see? She's the Flash now, too. I'm like, yeah, just not good stuff. And then we talked about Mortal Kombat. Yeah, we just talked about Mortal Kombat. Yeah, because there were parts where it was like dulling out, and I was just like, I'm just gonna text my buddy about Mortal Kombat while this movie is going on. I'm just like, oh my god. It's not, oh man. Again, I watch so many movies. I watch, like, shit you not, I watch about, like, 4 to 5 movies a day, you know? maybe throw in a TV show, like a couple episodes here and there. But I watch a lot of movies. So this isn't the worst movie of the year, but it's definitely not the best. It's on the worst list. It definitely is over there. Because I gave it like a 2-star rating. I initially like when, what was it like? There was probably about 20 minutes left. I was like on Letterboxd. I hit it with a 2.5-star, you know, because it's not 3-star where it's like, it's fine. It's like, nah, there's enough things where I'm not happy with, so scooch it 2.5-star, you know. But then when the movie ended, and we got to the ending, I was like, no, this is a 2-star, you know. It's again, it's not bad enough where it's a 1-star because I'm not like fuming. I'm not like, what is this shit? It's not What Lies Below. Please watch that review. I spent 35 minutes yelling about stuff. Please. Anyway, you know, and I've said this before where I usually grade like comic book movies more on a curve because I have more of like an attachment to them because the characters I was about to say known. And I'm like, you know, I've read material. I know the source very well, you know, like, so, you know, there's a curve that I graded on, but this is just, yeah, that's not good. Yeah, and then, like, at, like, the White House, even the stuff at the White House, again, like, there's not much I can say because it's, like, the fight scene you saw in the trailer, where she's, like, you know, with the shit. I don't know, man. And, and then, like, the ending where it was like, once like Diana was like, oh, I'm rescinding, you know, I take back my wish and all that stuff, and Steve went bye-bye, you know, and she's like, you know, that kind of stuff. It's like, okay. Towards the end, oh yeah, she's in the, like, against the wall, and she's like, she pretty much does the same thing that she did in the first movie, which was the whole, like, but of course in the first movie was great because it was pretty much like, I'm fighting you, evil guy, who truly is very evil because it's World War I. He's like, I'm fighting you, evil guy, and I'm fighting you with love, you know? And it was like, oh my god, I bring you love, it's bring a piece of love, God! You know, that's what was happening. But then this one, it was like, you know, power-hungry man, you know? God, let's not go there. So finally, like, you know, she's giving her speech about, like, I know you're a good person, you've always been a good person. I'm like, was he? Was he always a good person? Like, what makes you think he's always been a good person? You know, but anyway, so, so the fact that she finally, pretty much being like, think about your child. Like, yeah, bro, this whole time, like, were you really thinking about your kid? But anyway, once it was like, think about your kid, then he's like, oh my god, my kid! And it was like, yeah, dumbass. Like, so then he goes, oh, I take back my wish. But it was like, by then, he got, like, everyone in the world to wish their wishes, which was like, which would be bad, because someone was like, what's your wish? And I'd be like, I don't fucking know, I wish I was dead. Like, just, I mean, you know, shit. Because, of course, people are like, I wish I had $1 million, I wish, you know, that kind of stuff. So yeah, and then, like, nukes are being launched, you know? But finally, Pedro Pascal is like, okay, I've learned my lesson, kind of, from the sweet words of this lady with really long, wavy hair, you know? And he's like, I learned my lesson, I take it back, you know? And then he takes it back, and, like, bombs unexplode? Like, that was the part where I was like, no, man, like, no, movie, no, you don't get, you don't get that. Like, I get it if the bombs stop launching. I get that. But you can't, like, they reverse the footage. Like, bombs were going back into the silos kind of stuff, you know? Like, the fart went back into the ass kind of shit. Like, that's not how it works. I said, how does renouncing a wish make bombs unexplode? And my buddy goes, right, he goes, the Russians and the U.S. still have normal nukes. And he's like, because they meant well. They meant well. That's what he, like, texted me. They meant well. That was it. Oh, and then there was, like, then the credits happen. And, you know, usually when there's, like, the mid-credit stuff, you know, you get to see the actors' names, like, big and bold. And there's, like, you know, colors or flat or whatever stuff behind it. So, you know, it would probably say, like, Gal Gadot, and then behind it would probably be, like, I don't know, like, her cuffs or something, you know, that kind of shit, like, boom, you know? But it didn't do that. It just went straight to, like, credits, where my buddy even said, he's like, well, maybe they wanted to look like, you know, like, television credits, because it's supposed to have, like, had like a TV feel to it, you know? Because I also like to be that person. I'm like, it's supposed to take place in the 80s, and again, like Diana's hair and makeup are nowhere near the 80s. Kristen Wiig's like hair and makeup were kind of 80s-ish, but it was just kind of like we're 80s if we feel like it, you know, kind of stuff. It's like 80s throwback more than like this is the 80s kind of stuff. Like in the early 2000s when I was in high school and like the 80s were kind of coming back kind of stuff. Like some of the like, you know, like when that happened, you know, that kind of shit was happening. Yeah. Which was funny. You got like Hot Topic goth kids and then like, you know, kids trying to look anyway. So after that, then like there was a mid-credit sequence, which I had a feeling like something was like, I was like, something's, and then you know you see the back of a lady. She's in like a blue kind of cloaky coat, you know, dark wavy hair, a little bit longer and better taken care of than Diana's. Just saying. Something falls. Oh no! Holding on to the bean pole thing. Push it over, and this ginger lady's like, "Excuse me, ma'am. I just want to thank you." Turns around, and it's Mother Linda Carter, because she plays like the lady who fought all the men. Is that me? The lady who fought all the men? That me, right? Oh, like she just turns around, and then she like literally gives a wink to the camera, and I was like, oh, okay. It's like, it was cute to like have her cameo and all that stuff, because it's fucking Linda Carter. She still looks great to this day. At the same time, it was like, did you really need to like at the camera kind of stuff? It's a little much for me. But yeah, 2.5 hours too long. It didn't need to be. It's a comic book sequel, you know, it's not... there was a lot of people I follow who were like, they were saying things like, yeah, some people either loved it or hated this, and I'm like, oh, I'm probably going to be probably closer to the hate it, but I'm in like the middle hate, if that makes sense, where like, I didn't hate it that much, but it's definitely not a good movie. But yeah, so that's it. I have more movies to watch before the end of the year, because every streaming service is fucking taking down so many fucking movies, and I'm like, you know. Anywho, that's it. Wonder Woman 1984. Yay.